So I will be discussing to you about tertiary care center based research to determine blood donor deferral causes. So the abstract of this study is blood safety is a major concern in transfusion medicine around the world. In addition to screening blood banks for infectious diseases, donor selection is needed for these. Deferrals result in loss of valuable blood and components that could be used in transfusion. We should be aware of the causes of the deferral and the extent at which they occur in order to avoid this. A blood transfusion can be life-saving operation in today's medical surgical practices. It does, however, necessitate a sufficient supply of safe blood from a good donor. So meaning to say, before you can transfuse blood, you need to screen the blood first to assess the compatibility. So in addition to screening blood bags for infectious diseases, donor selection is needed for this. So deferrals, on the other hand, result in the loss of essential blood and materials that could be used in a transfusion. So first, we should be aware of the causes of the deferral and the extent at which they occur in order to avoid this. According to the National AIDS Control Organization or NACO statistic, India's annual blood donation rate is around 7.4 million units compared to a requirement of 10 million units. So yung blood bank is napaka-critical siya in ensuring that healthy blood is available kung kailan siya needed. Also, napaka-critical siya to ensure a sufficient blood supply, and also it is critical to ensure that the blood processing process does not affect either the donor or the recipient. So, yung donor deferral criteria and rigorous screening of collected blood for potential transfusion are needed to accomplish this. So, there are two types of deferrals. First is yung permanent and next is yung temporary. So, few studies conducted in India in the past have revealed various common reasons for deferral of whole blood donors, highlighting the country's diverse demographic profile. The aim of their research is to learn about the demographics of course, the blood donors, as well as the causes of frequency of permanent and temporary deferrals. So, in blood banking and transfusion medicine, donor selection is critical. So, the aim of the research was to devise a procedure uh, that would avoid whole blood component loss while still being safe for donors and recipients. The majority of donors, which is 95%, were men, with women accounting for just 5% of the total. Female donors, 20.41%, were deferred more often than male donors, which is 11.98% in the current sample, which also may be attributed to the high prevalence of anemia in female donors. So, yung anemia was the most common cause of temporary deferral, which is amounting to 17.95%, compared sa low hemoglobin, which was the most common cause of 46% of temporary deferral. So, yung low hemoglobin din was the most common cause of deferral in 20.7% of all deferral studies sa Turkish donors. So, yung result were very similar sa kanilang studies. Then, next is yung malaria was the most second common reason for temporary deferral, possibly due to the fact that the Aligarh and its environs, where most of the donors came from, were in yung region nila na endemic region. So, yung current study found out that while donor deferrals rates were very similar across the populations, yung reason para sa deferral varied, indicating the socioeconomic status, at saka yung environmental differences. However, different deferral rates were found in different studies, which may be due to the different donor selection criteria. Another is it can be due to hemolytic anemia caused by ribavirin. As a conclusion, donor deferral was found to be 4.27% in this report, and the majority of the donors were young, with the majority being students at saka voluntary donors rather than the substitute donors. When compared to permanent deferrals, temporary deferrals were more common, as in our non-responder subject with infection relapsed after 1 month. Furthermore, the care of patients did not initially include the new forms of DEAs that are currently available. The analysis was carried out in compliance with the GCP principles. So, the most common explanation for permanent deferral is yung hypertension. Then yung donor deferrals can be minimized by supplying donors with, of course, information and also education. This helps alleviate negative feelings about the donor deferrals.